how many of you were subjected to that ill treatment? Microphone, please.
Many of us, I cannot for sure. But for sure, the four of us who came were among, plus the ones we found there, were subjected to similar treatment.
You said earlier that from there, the torture started. Can you tell us what was the nature of that torture?
Well, apart from, then they embarked on maltreating us, kick, hit, stick, apply. And after they picked up a number, maybe 6, maybe 7, and took them. If you know the geography of the place, it's like giving your back at the guard room, facing us and the hangar. So if you're facing the guards, to your right is a garage, used garage. At our back is the big hangar in disuse, and between the garage and the hangar, the wall is little beyond the two structures. There is a wall there separating them from the fire brigade, I believe, and other inhabitants. Now, that wall must have been used by the army, by urinal, the people at the garage. It's stinking, smelly. And just behind the garage, there is a makeshift urinal with all corrugate thing and run palms nailed together, no door. Now, just behind that, just maybe 1 or 2 meters or less, a bunch of numbering maybe 6 or 7, I don't know, were taken there and sort of carried out a sort of mock execution. Whether they had live bullets or blanks, I don't know. But terrible. They were big. In fact, we were all shouting because we thought our colleagues were killed. Not knowing that that was going to be a routine exercise for the rest. Hey? That happened. By the time they finished the ordeal, dusk was coming near, and everything stopped. The hangar, sliding doors, slided and were asked to go in.
Can you explain better or in more detail this mock execution you talked about? You said a group was taken to that location you described, behind the hangar.
No, the hangar is here, the garage is the wall.
Yes, to that wall. And what did they do to them?
Well, they fired, and they will tell you, don't look. But you have to look. At that moment, at that tension, that terrible situation, you will not know whether, all you know is that these people are being killed. Whether you will not know it's mock execution or it's firing over their heads or it's blank bullets. You don't, who has time to think about that? Callous, vicious people.
At this time, how old were you?
I was in my late 50s. I think must have been 58 or 9, I think. Between 7 and 9. Not quite 60.
Were you the oldest of the lot?
Second.
Who was the eldest?
It was one duty. He used to take duty. He was duty master in Lamin Market. I forgot his name, but he has a nickname which he frowns at anyone who calls him by that nyafu. Pa nyafu, we used to call Pa nyafu. And you have to give him $10 or $20, otherwise he will insult your parents. So he was the oldest. I think he was about 62 or so. He must have died. He was the market master, correct duties at Lamin.
So you were 58 at this time, having been born in 1937. This happened in 1995.
Yeah, maybe 59. I don't mind. That's my birthday. Yes, okay.
And what was the retirement age at this time?
Hmm?
What was the retirement age at this time?
55.
So you were already past the retirement age, correct?
Oh, yes.
And you haven't been in government 5 years before this incident?
Correct.
And, okay, so this batch of 6 or 7 who were taken to this wall and a mock execution was done, was this repeated for other batches as well?
Everyone. Everyone went through the grill.
You also went through that grill?
Correct.
Can you tell us how it felt when soldiers fired over your heads?
Even before they fire, the most horrible and horrifying feeling you have just before is worse than if the bullets went through. As they say in local language, or at least in my language, expectation for better, for worse, is always more meaningful and more fearful and more enjoyable than when the actual act takes place. I don't know whether I have been clear.
Thank you very much. I think that captures it quite well. Can you tell us what time in the day you arrived at the depot at Fajara Barracks?
Oh, it must have been because I didn't take lunch, and normally I take lunch at 1:30, not beyond 2. My wives know that. If you don't prepare lunch before 2, after 2, I go and find something to eat. So we must have been taken there between 1 and 1:45, not 2 anyway. Just before I should have had lunch. So I would say between maybe around 2 o'clock or some minutes.
So by 2 o'clock, you were at Fajara Barracks, and your ordeal started, you said, until dusk?
Started?
Your ordeal started once you arrived at Fajara Barracks?
Oh, yes.
And it continued until what time?